Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guests today are Jason Loyette, the president of Solar Site Design, and Erik Melang, who is the co-founder of Distributive Solar. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
Erik, I want to start with you, if you don't mind. I take on the kind of the state of play in the solar energy marketplace. It's it seems like it's really maturing, and the industry's come a long way over the last 30 years. Have we reached sort of a peak in this industry?
Absolutely not, Devin. This is we're in the very beginning of this new energy economy globally, and we're seeing just tremendous growth, doubling year over year. Declines in prices of solar equipment of 27% every 2 years. So it's just we are right on the precipice of where solar becomes known to everyone, and the benefits become known to everyone, and we just really see heavy adoption. It's really exciting.
Do you think the recent election here in the United States is going to slow solar adoption? President-elect Trump has not indicated enthusiasm for this. In fact, he wants to increase the use of fossil fuels, he says. What do you think how's that going to impact the solar market?
I really don't think it's going to impact the growth rate whatsoever, Devin. Solar is at the point of no return. It's the prices have come down so much that it's cheaper now in a lot of places in this country than fossil fuels. And we have certain incentives that are in place that'll stay in place regardless of who's the president or who's a governor or who is in charge of the utility. So I think that there's no stopping solar at this stage.
That's good. Now, Jason, what's your take on this?
We're in a solar revolution, no doubt. We've actually, Erik and I were in a meeting yesterday, and it was pretty amazing how it was framed. The election may have made an impact in 2012, but the solar industry, the sun has been released. It is a time that solar cannot be stopped. I think it's very much bipartisan now. It's energy savings, it's job creation. I just don't think there's a lot of reasons you could turn back the clock on the solar industry. And we're in an industry that's resilient now. We've been through a lot. There's been 10 or 15 years of tremendous growth year after year. And now this next wave and what we're working on with distributive solar, we truly believe the next frontier is the best time possible to jump in the industry.
Well, this really is, it seems like an exciting time to me from my perspective, but I worry about the, Erik, you were saying that the tax incentives are sort of, we don't need to worry about the president changing those. That's probably true. He can't revoke them, but the new ones will expire within a few years. And so unless the cost of solar continues to decline, it seems like in a world where he's pushing fossil fuels, we could run into problems. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think that when people realize that solar is a technology, and that just like a PC, that it gets better, faster, cheaper all the time, it's only going to get cheaper. And really, we're not even going to need any incentives whatsoever. The economics right now are very compelling, but by 2020, when we start to see the tax incentives step down, it's going to be one of the cheapest energy sources out there. Now, there may be some impact on the Clean Power Plan, but we're seeing states moving forward in their own ways. And California recently put in 50% renewable portfolio standards. So I think that we're going to see a lot of the states really drive that in their own economy to be competitive. It's necessary. So
it is interesting the way our regulatory framework works here in the United States. Much of the regulation for utilities is at the state level. public service commissions. And so each state determines the rules under which utilities buy power from independent power producers and consumers. So I live in a state, Utah, that isn't especially friendly to solar. What do you expect will happen in most of these red states that aren't quite as enthusiastic about environmental protections, with the protection that they're receiving now from a president that's friendly to fossil fuels? How do you think states will respond, especially these red states in the middle of the country?
I'll give you some of my theory on this. It's very similar to the cell phone industry that, we're going to see leapfrogging of the solar energy industry right now. I mean, it's all about cost savings and energy savings and making an impact on that distributed property that's producing power at the source. It comes down to the local market and the local consumer, and they have an energy choice now. You can continue to buy all of your power direct from the utility, or you have the power now, and this is in every state in the country, to produce your energy, or a certain portion of your energy, from renewable sources like solar. And so we really believe regulation. Of course, we're going to have to fight that the rest of our lives, and there's always going to be utilities that are going to come in and out with new rate tariffs, new ways to make it a little more difficult for the solar energy industry to compete with fossil fuels. But and our team, Solar Site Design, has been working with U.S. Department of Energy for the last year within the Sunshot program. We're seeing it. In fact, Department of Energy came out with a report this week that we're already seeing 70 to 90% of the Sunshot goals, the 2020 Sunshot goals, have already been achieved. I mean, we're not even in 2017 yet. These goals, we're going to be reaching 100% of the goals very soon. And what you're seeing already, and this is going to affect regulation and politicians that are going to try to control the solar industry. Department of Energy is already looking at 2030 goals, because we're going to surpass the 2020. And so, it's a time that it's going to be very difficult at the state level, the municipal level, to try to slow down our industry.
Hey, Devin, I'd like to touch on it too. And we look at some of the states like Florida, for example. We're seeing in the commercial space that payback periods in the 4 to 5 year range right now, with ROIs 15% and higher over 25, 30 year period. And so it's a good deal right now with the incentives that we have in a lot of the states in the Southeast where there is a lot of sunshine.
I talked to a guy last week, and I was trying to talk him into putting solar on his businesses, and he was not persuaded. And one of the things he said was that the tax incentives evaporate because the installers typically pocket that in effect. What do you see in the practice as you look out at the marketplace? You're in it every day. Are installers gouging their customers?
That's a great question. And I'll tell you this: we're completely agnostic on finance and ownership of the systems, and that's something very important. I mean, California is a perfect example of business owners have been inundated with power purchase agreements and agreements that may not be favorable to the owner. What you're seeing is a wave of we call it solar ownership. That could be PACE, property assessed clean energy financial instruments. That could be the owner that has a tax appetite. They can now acquire these projects. They can now self-finance or work with their local bank. And essentially, it's not just power purchase agreements anymore that make the most sense. In fact, what we're seeing in many, many markets, and it's growing, is a lot of reasons to own the solar system yourself. I mean, like Erik said, I mean, we're seeing 4 to 5 year paybacks. Sometimes better, I mean, it's not gonna be in every single market, and it's really reliant upon the cost of the current electric power at that facility. But if that commercial or industrial property, they're seeing rising costs on their current bill, now is the exact time to look at a solar system for their property, because the costs have been driven down. If they'd seen a quote in the last, call it 2, 3, 4 years, the economics are completely different today. And so now's the time that it makes a lot of sense to look at solar as an investment and cost savings and energy savings from coming out of the gates. And owning the system is a great option.
So, Erik, what's your take? Are installer, or is that competitive marketplace protecting the customers?
Well, I think a lot of the installers, they have an older business model. They have a lot of overhead. And the beauty of the commercial marketplace and Solar Site Design's platform is that we're bringing the bidding process to the table. So we are driving costs down with this platform model. You can kind of look at it like Uber, where we're bringing supply and demand onto a platform where you can collaborate, and that's Airbnb, and that's Solar Site Design and Distributive Solar. That's what we're doing. And when you look at how a lot of commercial business owners are paying for their solar, they're paying for it off their balance sheet. 50% of these are done off the balance sheet, or they're using their own line of credit. But what's awesome that's coming out and rolling across the country is PACE financing, property assessed clean energy, where you can get 100% financing over a 20-year period, where commercial enterprises can be cash flow positive in day one, increase the value of their building, lower their operating expenses. I mean, right now is the time for businesses to really take a look at solar. But what we're finding is they really don't even know about where solar is priced today. And so we are excited about growing this army of originators so we can get out there and be advocates for solar and tell that story and show businesses how they can make smart business decisions by lowering their operating expenses by utilizing solar on their rooftops.
So, Erik, it kind of sounds like what you're saying is that, yes, people are being gouged, but you're that. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I think that the installers need to make as much money as they feel like they need to make as much money as possible. They have this overhead where they have salespeople, business development people on staff in a very roller coaster industry. And so, they're making these presentations to a lot of companies, they're doing seminars, and they have to cover that cost. But the beauty of this platform is they don't have to have that overhead. They can come in there and bid on a project. They can come to the commercial marketplace, see 20 projects that fit their business model, and bid on them based on the labor, where they can't mark up every single stage of the value chain like you see in condition and in the construction industry and the general contractor. We're having everything. We're bringing them projects that have been vetted, that we're bringing to the finish line, and they can just come in and compete at the lowest price.
I see. Now, Erik, one of the observations you made in our pre-interview discussion was that, and it's baked into the name of your business, Distributive Solar, but it's this idea that along with the solar revolution, not only are we moving from fossil fuels to renewable energy, we're moving from utility scale electric production to distributed electric production, where the electricity is produced where it's used. How will that impact the marketplace, and how does that impact a commercial business today?
Well, I think businesses are seeing that they can actually produce energy on site and not have to be dependent upon buying it from a utility. And I think the good way to look at it is from a global context. There's 1.2 billion people in the world that don't have access to energy. And centralized ownership, where you're trying to ship energy and transmit energy across long expanses of land is not going to work in those markets. We need to bring solutions to where the energy is going to be used, because solar is modular. You know, you can put it anywhere and have energy immediately. That helps people now. Waiting on building these huge transmission plants and shipping them across long distance just is not economically feasible in those markets. And it's the same here. We're in a different economy nowadays. We're in a distributive economy where there's small businesses being run out of homes. We don't have these big factories that are using all the energy. Everything is being decentralized. And I really believe that, you know, distributive generation is distributive economics, and it really gives everybody an opportunity to be involved.
I asked each of you a couple of personal questions to get some insights from you as leading social entrepreneurs. But Jason, maybe we start with you. You know, people look up to you as a role model, but who do you look up to as a role model?
Yeah, we've got a lot of heroes in the social impact side, the renewable side. You know, companies that have endured over the years. You know, local installers that we're working with that, you know, they've been challenged with you know, some high hurdles in the solar industry, and they've survived, and they've built, they've paved the path for the solar industry. And we're seeing these groups that are growing, and then businesses that are investing in their own property, investing in sustainable efforts, you know, taking the first step with energy efficiency and looking at renewables. You know, it's not an easy choice, you know, on this. But what you're seeing is there's a lot of heroes emerging, a lot of businesses making the 100% renewable pledge. We're seeing that month over month. You know, companies like Google and Apple and that are running enormous energy, you know, they're energy hogs, but they've made the commitment, you know, to impact and renewables, and they're putting investments into these. That to me right now are the heroes. It's really easy to say that, you know, let's just use the sources of energy from 20 years ago and be business as usual. This is not a business as usual world. Yeah. And so I really respect the companies that have taken the pledge.
Great. Erik, what about you? Who do you look up to?
You know, for me, I look up to my father. You know, and, you know, we just had Veterans Day, and so I've had a chance to reflect on that. And, you know, my dad was just a great example. He served the country. He was a tremendous leader in our family. He was fiercely devoted to our family. But what really stands out to me is his transparency and his honesty, and what he taught me and my brothers and sisters that we're trying to pass down to our kids. And I think today we really need that. And transparency is a big thing right now in the world with the internet. And you know, and honesty is so important. And I think that this is a business where everything is out in the open. And so my father's just had a huge impact on me. And you know, and I credit him with where I am today.
Erik, let me ask you. You know, you have spent much of your career in this impact space, especially in the renewable energy world. There's so many different ways to make a living. Why have you pursued this? Why is this what you are doing?
Wow, that's well, I think that what we're all looking for is, you know, where can we make an impact? You know, what is our purpose as an individual? And I feel blessed that you know, I stumbled into this industry, and you know, there's so many benefits that solar provides, and the impact that it makes. I mean, it's creating jobs. It's good for the economy. It's good for the environment. It's good for our freedom. It's just you know, it's very impactful, and I just feel very you know, very fortunate that I found what my purpose is, to be a renewable energy advocate, and to tell everyone about it and how they can benefit and how they can participate.
Fantastic. Now, Jason, we like to ask all of our guests for what I call an impact hack, a tip that would help us to do more good. What would be your impact hack?
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in, going out there and educating yourself. There's so many people out there right now that do not have backgrounds in impact or have backgrounds in renewable. But if you have a passion and you feel the calling, go out there and research. Go out there and do your Google searches. Align with companies like Distributive Solar, like Solar Site Design, that'll allow for you to get the first step into the industry. Become an originator. Learn it. Because nobody can stop your passion. And solar is a new industry. It's going to be very disruptive. It's a 50-year build out that we have ahead of us. We're still less than 1% as an industry. We need a lot of people in the playing field, learning the solar industry, educating the markets, and that's where make an impact. Go for it.
Yeah. And Erik, what about you? What's your impact hack?
Well, I agree with Jason about learning. Learn whatever your profession is. Stay on top of the current news. Wake up in the morning and read, and then you want to share that with other people, and then you want to collaborate. You want to take action. So that's kind of my daily routine. As I get up, I read about what's going on in the impact space, what's going on in solar, and then I talk about it all day, which helps me learn more. And but I just think that we're in this economy, this sharing economy, and this collaborative economy, and that when you do learn things, share it with other people, because that helps yourself and that helps everyone else too.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Before you go, Jason, how can people learn more about Solar Site Design and connect with you?
Yeah, solarsitedesign.com is our main website. You can go to Twitter at Solar Site Design, and my Twitter is at Jason Loyette.
Fantastic. How can people learn more about Distributive Solar and connect with you?
Okay, they can go to distributivesolar.com. They can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at DSITR Solar. And those are the easiest ways to connect with Distributive Solar.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I thank you both for taking the time to be with us today, and we wish you every success in accelerating the solar impact and the solar market.
Thank you very much,
Devin.
All righty. Let's do some good.